Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, help us out and click subscribe to show your support. And while you're at it, if you haven't done so yet and you are a Facebook user, go grab Wrestler Unstoppable, a totally free wrestling game, fully customizable. Create and design your own wrestler, sign contracts, headline pay-per-views, get involved in storylines, everything you can do in any other wrestling game, but this one's free. Don't spend $60 to $100 every year for the latest, greatest wrestling video game. Go to Facebook and play Wrestler Unstoppable totally free today. And if you want to become a member of the Fro Wrestling Podcast family, go to patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. In the month of November, if you are a $25 contributor, we are going to get you into a live episode of Going Live with me as a guest host. And if you are a $10 contributor, your name's going into a drawing to do the same. One lucky $10 contributor will get the opportunity to host an episode of Going Live with me, one episode sometime throughout the month. We will put together an episode, go over what we're going to talk about, bring in some of the topics you want to do, and we want to make it all around co-hosting with you. So check that out today at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast. If you haven't noticed, there's a couple episodes going up today because I got a slam jam-packed weekend. I don't have the opportunity to do a live episode, but that does not mean that I don't want to get up various tidbits and news and notes for you guys about the world of professional wrestling and the things that are going on right now. If you have questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to share with us, by all means, go to the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160 and give us anything you want us to talk about. It is our sound off line is a talk to text line. So you talk, they text it to me. And that way I can address your questions, comments, and concerns in a future episode of the podcast. So do that today. It's very helpful for us. The podcast is really designed to be around your interests. While you're at it, don't forget to vote in the greatest female wrestler of all time tournament. Round 3 is up, the final 64 women. The voting will close Tuesday night, and I need you guys to give me your opinions. Let's put these ladies through to the next round. Let's see what dream matches we can come up with. Go to FroWrestling.com, the homepage of the Fro Wrestling Podcast, and click on the tournament tab to cast your vote today. And if nothing else, if you've never been to our homepage, if you want to know what it is we're going to cover in every episode of the Fro Wrestling Podcast, our next episode's content is always posted there so you can get an idea. If you see something and you're interested in talking about it, go on to the sound off line and send it to us ahead of time. If we are doing a live episode, that's the best time to get us. Pop on to Spreaker.com, pull up our episode, and there is a live chat function right in the computer so you can talk to us live while we're online, and we can get your comments directly into an episode. So check that out if you get the opportunity. I want to get going with more of the news and rumors for this week. We've been trying to cover as much as we can this week. It's been a crazy week, and we're going to kick it off with Alberto El Patron with some very interesting comments. People have wondered if this Paige return is actually going to happen. She is at the WWE Performance Center. She's been there for several weeks at this point, and Alberto El Patron released some interesting comments this week. He stated that when it comes to WWE, he is not going back. He's done there. He's not interested in returning. However, Paige is only moments away from coming back. He stated that she's been there for roughly 5 weeks, and that he would not be he doesn't want to give anything away because he doesn't want to get her in trouble, but he expects her to return any day now. Her return is much needed and long overdue. She's an incredible talent, one of the best female competitors in the company, and she has feuds with every one of the roster, both Raw and SmackDown, that would be must-see television. She's one of those female talents that really gives you the feel that she's a legitimate tough girl, that she really can hang with these other people, and it is something that the division needs. Charlotte has it, Becky Lynch has it a little bit, Nia Jax has it, Sasha Banks has it. After that, a lot of these girls don't ooze that feeling that they could just take out an opponent. Paige looks like a legitimate, tough wrestler, and it's something that we need to believe in this women's revolution, that there's somebody that can go out there and pose a threat to anybody on the roster, and Paige does that. I'm going to move on because this has been a crazy week for Impact Wrestling. We're going to start with Impact Wrestling, the Broken Hardy Gimmick. Believe it or not, this is still going on. Matt Hardy is trying desperately still to acquire the Broken Hardy Gimmick. So my understanding is now that the reason the court has not awarded him the gimmick is because he didn't have evidence that he used the gimmick prior to Anthem taking control of the company, prior to Impact Wrestling licensing things, and Matt Hardy apparently has brought out that information. He has promotional posters from before the Impact Wrestling lawsuit and litigation started, before their copyright started, that indicate that he was wrestling as Broken Matt Hardy in other promotions. I don't know if anybody remembers, but they were doing this thing where they were traveling from promotion to promotion, winning tag team championships all over the place, and in all of those, he was the broken character. So by doing that, yes, he was building the credibility of the Impact Wrestling Tag Team Championship, but he was also performing under that name with no input from Impact, no permission from Impact, because Impact, the implied situation is they weren't the ones who owned it. So this will be interesting to see if this lands him the trademark or not, or it grants him access to the trademark or not. At this point, with the amount of money that Jeff Jarrett claims Anthem is losing, you would think they would want to bring in cash from anywhere they can. If I were them, I'd be licensing it to him anyways. They're not going to do anything with the character. And as long as this is going on, he's going to block them from releasing any video footage of him as that character, because he's not going to say he was getting compensated correctly. And if they ever publish one of those videos that has his child, King Maxwell, or Monsignor, or anybody else who didn't have a contract with their company, they're going to sue, because they're exploiting his child and his father-in-law because they didn't have contracts with Impact Wrestling and weren't compensated. So they can't appear on television. So this is like a stalemate until somebody gets their head out of their tail and starts doing what's necessary to help this gimmick come back to wrestling. It's just ridiculous. The other topic that we want to cover in this somewhat abbreviated episode is other Impact Wrestling news. This has been an interesting couple weeks for Impact Wrestling. So to recap, a few weeks ago we heard that Robbie E., one of the Bromance, had left Impact Wrestling, only a few months after we had heard that Mr. Pectacular also had left Impact Wrestling. So both of the Bromance were gone. Then we heard about Jeff Jarrett and his exile from Impact Wrestling, which led to his termination after he showed up at a Canadian Wrestling Organization's event drunk out of his mind. Then we heard this past week that Reno Scum, a tag team brought in from the West Coast to compete in Impact Wrestling when Jeff Jarrett had taken over creative control again, that they were let go from their contracts. Now just follow me on this. Then later in the week, Marsh Rocket, also released. Robert King, one of the referees, also released. Brian Hebner, the son of the legendary referee Earl Hebner, released. Dave Hebner, released. MJ Jenkins, released. Rockstar Spud requests and is granted his release. Taryn Terrell, also released. Eddie Kingston has been released. Low Key has been released. Are you noticing a pattern? A lot of these talents, some of them don't mean anything. I don't think I ever saw anything of substance from MJ Jenkins. So I don't care that they release somebody like that. But Rockstar Spud, Eddie Kingston, Taryn Terrell, the referees, I don't know who's going to referee their matches coming up at Bound for Glory. They literally let go every referee that's on their roster. Every one. People like Robbie E., Low Key, people who've really been great workers for them, released. And now, the big news is another major star in their company may be leaving. Contract's up early next year, and that's James Storm. James Storm had left for a few months once before, went to NXT, had a few spot matches on various house shows for NXT, and people thought that would be a great thing, and then he did the wrong thing. He let his heart get in the way of making a good business decision, and he went back to Impact Wrestling. Now, I'm sure they're paying him well, but the reality is it sounds like he's leaving. It sounds like he's another talent who's going to leave the company. They can only lose so many before their product is going to suffer. It's already frustrating to me to see a bunch of mixed martial arts stars and King Mo and people like that showing up at a Impact Wrestling television taping. That's not what we're here to see. I'm not here to watch Bellator Part 2. If I want to watch mixed martial arts, I'll tune into Bellator. I'm here to watch professional wrestling with people who've honed their craft over years and put on a great product. I want to see Alberto El Patron in the ring. I don't want to see Stefan Bonner. I want to see people like Bobby Lashley, but I don't want to see King Mo. I don't want to see any of those guys from Bellator in the ring. I really don't. What I want to see is real, great wrestling. The X Division should be highlighted instead of being a subordinate act. The women's, the Knockouts division should be highlighted because they've got some great wrestlers instead of being some peripheral thing that's pushed back in the card. Moose should be a focal point of their programming, and in a way he is, but going against Bobby Lashley, but not with all the other peripheral stuff in that match. So Impact Wrestling, if they keep pushing out the stars who have worked so hard for them and put on some of the best matches in their company's history, if they keep losing that, you can't put on a great show. People will tune out. Even people like Mario Boccara, who came into the company under Jeff Jarrett's leadership in January, we don't see enough of him. Falaba, we haven't seen anything of him for forever. Great wrestlers, good, unique looks, interesting presentation. We're not seeing them. We're not seeing anything about them. And that's a problem. We need to see Impact Wrestling do the right thing for their viewers and their fans. We need to see Impact Wrestling deliver the quality product that made them a competitor in the first place. And instead, they keep losing talent. They're not paying talent enough. They're not marketing their product in a way that is productive. Let's face it, when you watch Impact Wrestling shows, it almost looks like an ECW presentation, which ECW prided itself on cutting production value. But it's 2017. We need production value. I don't need you to have everything that WWE has, the giant Titantron and everything else. I don't need that. But what I need is a great product, an in-ring product. If you're not going to have the glitz and glamour, make the in-ring product second to none. And they're not doing that. You know who is? Ring of Honor. New Japan Pro Wrestling. And dare I say, even Lucha Underground puts on a significantly better product right now than Impact Wrestling. And that's a shame. Eli Drake is a fantastic wrestler. Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, John Morrison, whatever you want to call him, John Hennigan, should be a focal point of the product. I understand he's getting a world title shot, but let's face it. These guys are not long-term Impact Wrestling stars. You need some of that because I understand Impact Wrestling isn't WWE, but even Impact Wrestling has nostalgia built into it because it has had a relatively interesting history, dating back to when the company debuted on pay-per-view every week for $10. So hopefully Anthem and Impact Wrestling can figure their stuff out because at this point, I feel like their product is suffering because of horribly poor booking, and they have nobody to blame for that but themselves. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode when we cover all the latest news and rumors in the world of pro wrestling. Special thanks as always to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing all the music and sound effects we use in today's show. Today's podcast was sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this new game from Beazle Games by going to www.frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the page. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all of your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. And while you're at it, if you have interest in college, universities, or just a new career path and you're not sure how to get the training, contact us at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs. We can help you get to that next stage in your career evolution because Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro, and I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.thasportsjunkies101.com for the latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great day.